Welcome to the fish tank.
Hey everybody, Fishman here, welcome to another video. A few weeks back I posted a video and I had put together a couple of feeding rings. The first one was a simple job. It was just a piece of vinyl tubing with an acrylic connector, and all you do is stick it together and throw it in the aquarium, and it works perfectly fine. It's easy, and because it's made of vinyl and acrylic, it will work quite fine. Though I find sometimes vinyl will absorb water gradually and it will turn kind of translucent, and you may have issues with it that way. But because it was for a giveaway, if you remember, well, actually, I don't even remember, so you guys probably won't either. Sometime last year, I had did a giveaway for, as I was doing the Milestone K draws, and the winner, Chris from A Fish for Thought, had won, but he wasn't sure what he wanted. So some time went by, and then when I posted that video, he said he wanted a feeding ring. And then I said, well, that's pretty easy to do. And so I did the two knockoffs there. One with simple, easy to put together that anyone can do. And then I built the wooden one. Now, the wooden one's really quite nice. It's pretty. It's the kind of thing you probably want to actually just keep on the shelf, really, and not so much something that you can leave in an aquarium. Now, feeding rings aren't always just, people plop them in, feed, and take them out. Usually what I've noticed is a lot of people will use it to segregate surface plants from a particular area. So you have a nice, clean, open section of water in an aquarium, and they're really quite good for that. So if that's going to end up being the case, I thought that the best thing to do would be to make an acrylic one, because this material can sit in water forever, and there's no issues, none whatsoever. You may have to clean it periodically, but it's the kind of thing that will sit and be perfectly fine. Now, the reason why this is also coming about this way is you'll notice there's last week there I put up the videos for testing out Weldon versus methylene chloride, and they're still sitting there. And I was thinking what I would do for this job is to see if it's capable of handling fine gluing, because that's what this is. These are the ones I had done, and as you can see, I'm trying to pull it apart. This is the Weldon one, and it is strong. It's bubble free, and I was thinking, well, we should take it to the next step. So I started making these the rings. You saw the lathe work in the beginning. It's actually quite easy to do, but it gives me a really nice fine finish to it, as I was showing you there. And that makes the gluing much easier to do, and also a greater chance of it being bubble free, which is kind of important. So while I'm fiddling with these, what I did is I actually spent a few hours on the lathe, mostly because, well, my original intent was the base ring, the part that's when you stick it in the aquarium is going to be at the top. I wanted it to sit inside the two tubes. So the ring, the outer ring would sit on the outside of it, and the inner ring would fit on the inside. And the reason I was going to do that was because extruded acrylic tubing is not uniform. It's not perfectly round. And if I were to do it any other way, it would be rather difficult to have it look perfectly fine. So I decided to these are the two original ones, the easy one and then the wooden one. I like the wooden one, and I might send it to Chris anyway if he wants it, just to put on a shelf. But this will actually work. And what I was thinking of doing to test Weldon more was I was going to weld a section here. And then I was going to use a heat gun and weld on and clamps and gradually wind it around. And because Weldon takes too long to set up, I abandoned that. It was going to take me days to put that together. So then I went to this idea, which is one of the original lathe work you saw. This is how thin it needs to be to fit inside these two particular sizes I have. And as you can see, one of them got messed up a little bit there because this is way too weak to hold in the jaws properly, and there's just too much flex in it. So instead, I went to the other option, which is a thicker ring like this, and then they both sit on top. So that way it's easy to put together. It may not be perfectly round, but then again, it's not something that you can really point out easily with your eye. And the only problem now is to glue this up properly so that there are no bubbles. That's actually one of the things I find about when I build these things. It gets a little, not nerve-wracking or anything, but it gets to the point where you have to be, extra careful when you're getting around to doing some of the glue ups. I mean, it doesn't take too long to make these pieces now that I worked all the bugs out, but it does take time. And like I said, I spent a few hours doing this because I wanted to test a few things out. Because like I said, I was originally going to just wrap around a piece of acrylic, and then you get to the point, of course, where you have to deal with a seam as well. And in this case, there won't be any seams on the vertical side. So, it gets to the point where you're doing this now, and you just don't want to end up dripping a little bit of, in this case, Weldon, because I wanted to test that out. Or methylene chloride in the other case. You don't want to drip it anywhere and to ruin the finish and then to be at a point where it's like, oh, I have to redo this whole thing. That gets really annoying fast, I can tell you. So yeah, this is at regular speed now, and you can see I'm just taking my time and making sure there aren't any drips anywhere, because that is the last thing I want to have happen at this point. So the first one's done. I'm going to let it evaporate and cure a little bit. And then you'll see here, it actually does a really good job. I'm not sure if I like it more or less than methylene chloride. In some ways it's easier to work with, and in other ways it's more of a pain because it takes longer to set up. But so far, it's fine. And as a lot of people have said in the comments, and something I forgot to mention actually in the first video when I was doing this, both methylene chloride and Weldon, the primary ingredient is still methylene chloride. It is really toxic. I mean, use it in proper ventilation. Don't rub your fingers on it. Don't do all that sort of stuff. Just take proper care when you're working with it. Now, I've been doing this a long time, so it may look like I'm not taking care when I'm doing this, but I make sure I don't, put any of my fingers or anything anywhere near it while it cures. I mean, that's why I actually like this dispenser here instead of the one that comes with it, because that tends to drip a bit. So once it evaporates, both of them, it's perfectly safe because all that's left is acrylic. In the case of Weldon, there are a couple of other chemicals, but as far as I can tell, they also have a fairly high vapor pressure, so most likely they're also gone. And that little bit of translucence that was left after when I first started doing the gluing for this, it does seem to clear up quite nicely, which kind of corroborates that point of view that it does evaporate. And you end up with a really good joint. So we're getting close to the end of this. So Chris, I hope you like this. This is the one I'm going to send you, and I'm going to be doing that. Actually, by the time this video is posted, I'll have done that. And I hope you like it. It is something you can leave in an aquarium for forever. I mean, aquariums are made out of acrylic in some cases, and they're perfectly fine. It may grow a bit of algae, but that'll be very easy to remove. And because it's been machined on a lathe, there are no nooks and crannies for the algae to get into, so it should be pretty straightforward to keep going. Now you'll notice that the inner ring is longer than the outer ring, and that was done on purpose. Just so when you set it in the aquarium, it gives like the difference. Well, you see when I put it in the aquarium, it does help to set it in properly. It's kind of hard to explain, but you'll see as it goes along here. There you go. It's pretty much done now. And I actually do like the finish. I'm not, it's too early to tell whether it's any better or worse than just plain methylene chloride. But for all intents and purposes, this is perfectly fine. So there you go. A nice, clear, bubble-free ring. And I'm going to stick it in an aquarium here now, and you'll see what it looks like. So thank you very much for watching. If you like this style of video, please like and or subscribe, and always leave comments below and let me know what you think of things. These are my rummy noses that have been growing out. I think I'm actually going to start breeding them shortly, just to see if how their genetics are. But this is a planted aquarium. I didn't bother spreading all the plants out of the way. I just sat it in there and just to show you, and then I'm going to move it to the one next door. Unfortunately, I was in the middle of a water change on that one, so it is a little lower than the other, but that doesn't really matter. It just shows you how it sits in the water. And you can see the difference in the two heights of the rings, and I think it does help when it comes to putting it in. So anyway, thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.